Right, hello there everybody, welcome to the Adam Clery Football Channel, and a quick message for anyone who doesn't think that the gap between men's and women's football, both in terms of quality and entertainment, is getting smaller by the year, right? Let me tell you that as a professional analyst and an alleged expert, that was every bit as excruciating to watch as the Blokes Euros was last summer. And if you cannot judge the standard of football by whether or not going into the 90th minute you feel physically sick, then what can you judge it on? Anyway though, England both in the semi-final and across the tournament as a whole have been tactically very interesting to me. So let's have a little look at how they keep getting away with it. Right then, so if you, like me, are joining the Women's Euros late because of contractual obligations to the Club World Cup, let me fill you in. England were miles better than both Wales and the Netherlands, but against Sweden and France and Italy, they looked like they could get absolutely nothing going for large parts of the match. Now we're going to get to what Italy's plan was for this team in a little bit, but in the other subpar performances against Sweden and France, England were getting physically bullied off the ball in the final third and then caught in possession in their own. And that is simply not what you would expect from a team that has got some of the very best players in the tournament sprinkled throughout its entire 11 from front to back. But the reasons for it are fairly straightforward. The problem, you see, my friends, is Kira Walsh. Just not like that. I am a card-carrying member of the Kira Walsh is England's best player club, but as their best passer, best tempo setter, just best technician on the ball, she becomes a bit of a double-edged sword. And just to grossly oversimplify this and fly through it in a couple of seconds, right? England play a 4-2-3-1, but they like to push the two wide players up as aggressively as they can to try and stretch the opposition back line. Now that's fine, but if you do that, you need support from the fullbacks, and while Lucy Bronze has go faster stripes tattooed down her spine, the left back tends to be either Alex Greenwood or Jess Carter, who, were they to sing you the true songs of their heart, would sing the song of the centre-back. They don't really like getting up that far. So as a compromise, what Sarina Wiegman is very happy to do is to allow Georgia Stanway to drift into this area here to sort of make up those distances and provide that support. And as a consequence, you can then have the number 10, who tends to be Lauren James, though it hasn't been in every game in this tournament, to drift slightly wider and get into their preferred sort of half space here. And thus, because Walsh is so good in these deeper areas getting on the ball, she tends to have to play this entire area of the pitch between the attack and the defence all on her own. And in this tournament especially, teams have really been targeting that. And what that means in practice is that even though it's a 4-2-3-1, it actually operates more like a 4-3-3 with Kira Walsh sort of on her own in the middle there. And the reason you see Premier League teams, for example, who play this shape, invert a defender into that area or push a centre-back on and have everyone shuffle across, is because you really do need two bodies in that part of the pitch. It opens up so many more passing angles and ways out of tight spots, but more importantly, because if you do lose it, it's an extra body in that area to try and win it back. Like take the goal against Sweden, for example. Their entire idea here is to leave her open enough so they bait her into receiving the ball, but then spring the trap on her when it comes because she's all on her own. Now, Jess Carter takes the bait here, and that's an entire other issue itself because Jess Carter is a right-footed defender playing as the left-sided centre-back, so it's very difficult for her to pass the ball effectively in those areas, and it gets closed down, it takes a little knock. It does not run through, and if you stop it there, Sweden don't just have 5 players about to jump on Walsh, but every single option out of this rapidly shrinking net is cut off. Like, just draw the lines on here to every other English player. There is a Swedish body, more or less, on that line that the ball would have to travel through. That's an excellent pressing trap. Like, Kira Walsh is a player who recorded a 94% short and medium passing accuracy across all of last season, which is insane. And in the Sweden game, so pressured and harried and short of time was she, they got that down to like 70. So yeah, one of England's problems in the tournament so far has been that you can apply pressure to them in this area and the whole thing tends to break down. Sweden did it very well. France did it very well. Netherlands and Wales tried to do it but weren't aggressive or effective enough with it. But Italy Italy did not do this. They created a whole other problem. For 95 minutes of this game, Italy did a really professional job on England by sacking off the idea of pressurising them in this part of the pitch and instead sitting off with 5 at the back and closing down all the space in the central areas. And just to show you the difference, right, this is Kira Walsh's heat map against Sweden, where she was getting pressured, where she wasn't getting time on the ball. She's able to pick it up now and then in these deeper areas, but virtually nothing is happening for her in the opposition half. She simply didn't have a chance to get anywhere near there. But then you look at what that looks like against Italy, who were very happy to leave her to it in that part of the pitch and even retreated so far that she could get into the final third. And she is just absolutely everywhere. She was orchestrating things from outside the box as they defended right the way into it. Now that might sound really good. You're seeing loads of the ball. You've got much better territory than the opposition. But the problem was that Italy were quite happy to make these concessions in exchange for never allowing a single decent pass to go through this area. And so, again, for 95 minutes, England were constantly forced to move the ball out into these wide areas to then put crosses into the box that up against a back 5, they were never, ever going to win. Like, if we look at this zones of attack graph, I'm not even sure what something like this is called. Basically, the lighter the colour, the more time England spent on the ball in that area. And there's nothing in the middle, but they were so free to move it out wide if they wanted to, because Italy backed themselves all day to deal with the crosses. England had 51 crosses in this match, which is the most of any team in this tournament in a single game by a mile. And if you include corners as well, that is 61 times they put the ball into the proverbial mixer, and for 95 minutes, up until the goal, they tested the keeper with precisely 0 of them. Like, legitimately, Lauren Hemp getting this at the back post and putting it across and it going absolutely nowhere. That is as close as they got from a cross in this game before the goal. So as I said at the start of the video, the question remains, how do they keep getting away with this? This was not working for 95 minutes, and then, as I'm sure you recall, it then just suddenly did work. So why? Well, not to be incredibly unscientific about this, but England have such a talented squad and such variety of talent within it that whatever the game state is, whatever the opposition are forcing them to do, they tend to have a player available to them who can do something with that. And this time, again, that player was Michelle Agyemang. There are seconds left and Italy have dropped into a back 6 now with these 4 in front, still stopping any passes through the centre. The ball goes out wide and finally, literally for the first time in this game, they make a mistake at the back. Carrusco here, who in her defence had spent the entire game on the right side of midfield, so understandably probably looked a little bit lost on the left side of defence, comes out of the back line along with the left back as the ball goes out to Lucy Bronze. And you would imagine she's doing that to try and stop Bronze slipping anybody into this channel here. So technically, she does the right thing, she just doesn't assess the situation correctly first. Because if she had, and she'd done a quick head count, she would have realised that England now have 5 in the box, and none of them are looking to get into that area. So what she's done is she's left the other 4 defenders at a disadvantage. And the thing is, if she takes the correct position in this moment, right, she would be stood here. And I want you to remember that. The ball comes in, Beth Mead gets across the goalkeeper's line right as the ball gets to her, which forces her into the mistake. And it runs out very kindly for Agyemang, who gets turned, and where in the box is she? She is exactly where the 5th defender, Carrusco, should have been standing. And if you're Italian, that is a heartbreaking lapse in concentration after 95 minutes. But if you're Agyemang, that is literally all you need to get a goal. She hammers it through the defender and the goalkeeper, and from there, it was just a question of whether or not England would keep that momentum going into extra time or whether it was going to go to penalties. Which, and I will hold my hands up here for any Italians watching this, thanks to an extremely generous penalty. I still don't think that is enough to give a foul in that situation. They did, and even though they missed it, they rebounded it, and that's it in the final again. And even though both goals do come from substitutes, I am still hesitant, personally, to label this as like inspired changes on the part of Wiegman. I think it's more just the case that she has so many different difference makers, which took me 3 takes to say, by the way, that there's virtually no game state they can't do something with. Like in a game with 61 crosses, their options off the bench were A, their best crosser of a ball in Chloe Kelly, and B, their most physically robust in the air and also / best poacher of a goal in Michelle Agyemang. Like, that situation is tailor-made for the pair of them, so I would argue should have appeared well before the 77th minute. Now, the big question, does this mean they're going to go all the way and win the bloody thing? Well, there are still some issues here. I don't know how you resolve the situation at left centre-back. I think Lauren James is having a bit of a Phil Foden tournament and that she's getting picked on what she can do as opposed to what she literally is doing. And if you get Spain in the final, that issue with Walsh being isolated against a high-pressing side could be catastrophic, but very important to say, this is tournament football. You are always better being lucky than you are being good. So yes, there you go. That's what's happening with the England women's team at the European Championships. Better late than never, eh? Haha, sorry about that. But we will be covering the final on Monday, so please do subscribe to us here at ACFC if you would like to give that a little bit of a watch, and you get me across all the social medias at Adam Clery, Clery. It's coming home, is it? Well, maybe, but I certainly am. It's the end of the day, so see you later.